Hello, everyone. My name is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Spain. And yet again, I brought another fantastic group of independent comic book creators, or at least I intended to. But hey, we got what we got. It's like, but
Hey, listen, the lineup you got for tonight, it's not any small potatoes, buddy. All right,
it's a good lineup. It's a great lineup.
You got people who have quality work behind them, pal.
Yes, but there was going to be more. So I just don't know where they're at.
Listen, quality, not quantity, right?
Well, fair enough.
Okay, good. So why don't you bring on some of the other? Oh, you know what? Let me introduce myself. Anybody who's watching right now, I'm Dee Rosario from Unstoppable Comics. Been making books since 2008. Hanging out with this guy a little while after that, and now we're going to be bringing in some quality comic book creators.
There you go. The co-host.
Oh, you're looking for quality? I didn't get a memo on that one.
Marcus,
hey, everybody. It's been a while since I've been on. Been busy guy, but I'm Marcus McNeal, editor-in-chief of Odyssey Comics and Paradox Entertainment. Here to join a small but mighty group of creators today as the co-host.
All right, cool. And so far, our only guest, and let me tell you, Wilson Ramos, quality.
Yes, I'm one of the superstar artists that you will have on this show, of many people that pop up here. But as I put in my bio, award-winning comic book artist. And since Marvel had decided there will be no more superstar artists, is what they put out in a memo once. I always try to say superstar artist because we're all superstars. We're working in comics, and we're still here. And I've been working in comics since 1993. So still surviving, still going.
There you go. Nice. Very good. I only beat out Wilson by 1 year.
There you go.
Just goes to show you, old bastards.
Yep.
All right. So, all right. I'm all flustered and thrown out because, there's supposed to be more people here. But it's okay, though. It's okay.
Don't be flustered, man. This is it.
Okay. No, it's not flustered. It's weirded out. I'm used to seeing more squares,
Okay.
But anyway, so the
You're
question.
used to Brady Bunch. This is a little more.
Right. It's a little weird. Yo, what's up, Justin? All right. So the show question. We'll just start. How can indies improve their standing within the greater comics community? I just think they read that question. They were like, "Screw this, man. I don't have an answer." So Wilson, you're the guest, so we're going to start with you.
Well, defy the comic community for me, because I'm seeing groups that are like, for myself, I've worked both indie and big companies,
Right.
and I do see groups have been getting together and doing stuff, whether they're people who are YouTube comic community, there's Instagram comic community. Like each of the social medias have their own, what looks like their own comic community, and they stay with their group. So I see that kind of a thing going on. And then I also see, working conventions and stuff like that, where there's a group of just convention comic communities, which has been fascinating to watch in that kind of case. I've been lucky that I've been able to peer into each of these groups and see very similar things going on. But I don't know if there's like a whole comic community altogether.
Okay, well, I mean, it's primarily in the indie sphere,
Okay.
right? So think of it more along those lines, and I would just say in a generalized sense.
All right, so to me, I see it as there are groups getting together and doing stuff in the indie in the indie community. And what I've liked that I've been seeing more and more lately are within the community comic book crossovers have been happening because, we own the characters that we have, and we can make the choice of, hey, I want to do a team up with this other guy's book. And it's just a couple of guys hanging out at a con going, we should do this. And chances are it gets done. Where the larger companies there are tons of lawyers involved. And yes, lawyers do need to get involved, mind you. But at the same time, it's a lot easier for us to make those decisions. Working with guys like Red Anvil Press, where that's doing some crossovers there. And that has led into me getting other work for other publishers because of that. Because I did the lettering for the first few books, I did the coloring for the first few books. That also made me meet so many other people that it's like, oh, now I'm doing coloring for this book and that book. So a community is good, it's great to have, and at the same time, it's like, I think the main thing comes down to using what's available to us as hopefully as possible. Because again, with the crossovers, a lot of them are being funded and put onto Kickstarter, and that's how you could discover other creators. Oh, if I like this type of book and there was a crossover, you might get these two creators may get overlapping fans.
All right, that's fair enough. Marcus, what are your thoughts?
This is something that I really thought a lot about, and a lot lately too. There's a wonderful thing about comics right now. There's so many creators, so many people out there.
Marcus, I'm losing you. I don't know about you guys. I can barely hear you, bud.
Yeah, you're fading in and out.
Yeah.
How about now?
That's better. We found a lurker.
Yeah, it might just been temporary internet connection on my part. But yeah, like I said, the great thing is that there's so many creators, so many books, so many publishers. And the really horrible thing is that there's so many creators, there's so many books, there's so many publishers. We don't really have an overarching thing. We don't have a house that is of, say, the Marvel or DC or even when you get to larger indies, Image, Dark Horse, things like that gives an overarching grand sense of what this is about, quality of the work, what to expect out of all these pieces of work. And that's not to say that we should be comparable or trying to do different things. No, we shouldn't. Everyone should be ideally, doing the work that they're really, really, original with and really passionate about. But whenever it comes to me having to engage or talk to people that are either new comic book readers or maybe they only stick to the big publishers, things like that, you have to reinterpret that discussion every time for them about what you got, what your publishing company is about, what your creators are, what your books are, everything like that. And then, of course, if we're doing cons and even if we're communicating on Kickstarter or things like that, try to sell people on the quality that we're making. Because that becomes important determination. I know it might upset some people, but I think it's empirically true. Most independent comic books are not good. They just aren't. It's the nature of the business that we're in, and then creativity as generally you can do that. I think most music isn't good. Most movies probably. It's whatever you come down to. We have no real. As the assistant industry right now, we have no real funnel of anything that says like, hey, this is quality work that comes with some sort of easily identifiable like standard of quality, and that's communicated outwards to readers, not just in the independent comic sphere, but the total comic sphere as a whole, in the literary sphere as a whole too. You maybe get that if you get a Ringo Award nomination, Eisner, things like that. That's kind of the closest thing that we have. But right now, it's a million people doing a million different things, and people have to navigate their way through that. And it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to think about, and it's not an easy solution to come up with. And any form of something like that you do that could possibly do it could likely be potentially looked at like gatekeeping by the larger community as a whole and things like that. So it's like, how do you essentially boil down and how do we highlight the premier stuff that is coming out of indie comics and market it in a way to the greater audience out there without also being gatekeepers at a certain level of everyone else, because it's not something that can be super inclusive, because it just can't be. There's just too many people, there's too many creators, too many politics and things like that that go along with it. So a lot of it just falls on us when it comes down to it. Falls on us, like just like Will mentioned. Those of us that are in our sphere. I know a lot of us here in the SoCal area. We've actually been kind of coalescing. We're doing more things together, whether it's working alongside each other, making comics, or we're doing panels together. Our community is kind of condensing down a little bit. So even if people don't know what the work is, especially like they could, I've already seen that in some cases, like, oh, hey, I saw you do a panel with so and so. Sound interesting. Your stuff looks interesting. I want to check it out. Those things, and that starts to build momentum after a while. What that really looks like for the future, and what can we do to, I don't know, do that on a grander scale? Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people have tried to figure it out, and it's not an easy egg to crack. But I think eventually something will come. And I think that's really comes down to is like, what's the future state of it, and what's a way for us to really highlight not just everything that's happened in indie comics, but the creme de la creme of what we should do, and that becomes the standard bearer for like everyone else. It's not easy.
All right, Tom, did you hear the question?
Not really, but I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, introduce yourself first, sir. I know you so I said
professional troublemaker. As mentioned last week, JD, this is my 4th show in a row that does trigger my payment clause.
Funny, we were talking about that before the show.
We were just talking about that just before the show. Yeah.
My payment clause was never active.
Yeah.
It's not in your contract, sir. You have to negotiate your own contract.
Right. My payment clause is also being activated.
Oh.
So give me the question.
Oh, okay. Well,
let me know specifically where you started. And I listened to Wilson and I listened to Marcus, so I kind of know where we're at. But give me the question.
So it's the show question. How can indie comics improve their standing within the greater comics community?
Okay. There's really only one way, and that is to elevate yourself through what is considered the ranks of the comic book industry, right? So if you're indie guy making your own stuff, that's all you are. You're indie guy making your own stuff. If you're indie guy and now you're with some publisher, let's say Vault Comics. Oh, now you're with a Vault Comic. Oh, that's kind of cool. Now you're a guy and you're with Oni Press. Oh, you're with Oni Press. Oh, that's cool. Now you're a guy and you're at Dark Horse Comics. Oh, that's cool. Oh, you made it to Image Comics. Oh, that's great. That is the only way to elevate within the brain trust of, the general audience, is to be able to tell people like, well, I've worked for these companies or with these people. I worked with J. Scott Campbell. I worked with Joe Gisco. I worked, whoever, whatever. Anything that you can do to layer onto your work an association with the things that people understand is the only way to do it. The indie comic book world is no real different than the indie movie making world. It's like Marcus said, most stuff is bad. Most stuff in movies is bad. When you talk about the entire totality of films made, comics made, books written, music created, we're all aware of probably 1% of all that exists in the world, right? Mm-hmm. So that 1% that we know about for a reason. It has some objective good to it. It has a marketing team of some sort behind it, and it's attached to things that that we know. Now, the flip side to that is that there are definitely people that go out and search for indie music, indie movies, indie stuff. There are those people who go and do that, but that's a small group of people versus those that are like, I know what Batman is and I want Batman things, right? So we always talk about the industry. What is the industry? It's undefinable at this point. There's no coalescence to it. What is the community? I don't believe there's a community either, because the community is separated. And I like Marvel and I like DC and I like indies and I only like this indie, but I don't like that indie. So I kind of feel like everybody kind of in some way has to create their own community. That has to be step one. You have to have your own community. And then that community, as it grows, will naturally bump into other communities. Because, like, for example, I work with CB Zane, right? And so CB Zane, he's an artist and does stuff for me, but then he also does his own comics. He writes and does his own stuff. So as people are like, oh, CB Zane works for Big Dog Inc., and then they learn who he is, now that bubble expands to CB. And, oh, CB makes books too. Let me see what CB does. CB then works with somebody else and somebody else and somebody else in the bubble. That community can grow in that context. So I think the focus should always be grow your own community first, as best as you possibly can. And then you start to just play the 6 degrees of separation of whoever it is that you can work with. You know, like I said, I've worked with J. Scott Campbell, so people know me through him. I've worked with Ryan Otley. People know me through him. It hasn't elevated me to any sort of like wild status, but at least it can be said like, oh yeah, look at Tom. He's worked with these specific types of people. And maybe because I've worked with that type of people in their brain trust, in that mindset, maybe Tom is a little bit higher than he would be without them, right? Even though the product is the same, you know, the comics themselves. Scott Campbell hasn't done any interiors for me. He hasn't written any stories, but he's done covers, right? So the product would still be the same, but because I've been able to add the layer of Ryan Otley and J. Scott Campbell, it's pushed me up a little bit more than I would have been without them. So I think that's really the key is build what you can as best as you possibly can, and then just start adding those little bonus layers that'll kind of drag you, you know, into these other threads, either parallel, you know, with other companies, or upwards with guys that have worked, you know, at the top of the ladder.
Yeah, that's a good point, Tom. Just to piggyback on that, I always say in indie comics, there's 2 ways to grow. You either do it horizontally or laterally, or you do it vertically. Mm-hmm. Vertically is really hard because we're small guys. We usually only have so much money. We only have so much time. We only have so much influence. So unless you have that thing that really hits and really gets you up there, vertical is tough. A lot of us are going to be in the mood of doing it laterally, like you said. Working with
and lateral works. It works because while there are buyers up here, there are buyers out here too. So don't think that because you're moving laterally that's a problem. That's still expansion until you get that layer. It's like, oh, we're growing. Oh, J. Scott Campbell, we're growing. Oh, Ryan Otley, we're growing. You know what I mean? It's it's sort of an it's the opposite of a pyramid. Instead of going this way, you're going to go this way. but what is this, Jay?
That's the funnel, baby.
It's the funnel, motherfucker. Right. High five, Jay. Give me that. Give me that. Man.
No, we're on that.
That's the growth right there. Yeah. Beautiful.
Look, all you guys are making great points, right? Collaborating with other people, right? Doing crossovers with other people. The horizontal and lateral expansion. That's great. I love that take on that, right? Especially since I'm always going, horizontally, but that's, at dinner. I love this, but I think the one thing that people are always forgetting is, work on yourself, work on your product, right? As you build your catalog, right? You develop your name, your credits, and then when people find you, they'll say, "Oh my God, you've done all of this," and they're shocked. And now they're not just buying that one title they discovered you on; they're buying all the other extra work you've done, whether it's within your own catalog or whether it's something that you've worked on with somebody else, right? And then they'll share that. I know it sounds weird. We don't have the money. We don't have the marketing. We don't have the machine behind us. We're not all going to hit that Kirkman manifesto moment, right? Where we work for them long enough to be promoted by them and become strong enough to go off on our own. I mean, that's a tough grind, right? The only thing we really can do is continue to work on releases and be consistent with it, which is something I 100% suffer from.
All right, cool. For my own answer, I mean, look, the reason I asked the question is because I've been mulling over something, and I've been mulling it over for what, like 9 months now, right? Tom's heard me talk about it. Jay's heard me talk about it. Marcus, you may have heard me talk about it. I don't think Wilson was here when I was talking about it. And I think what we need within the industry is some type of paper or catalog or magazine that celebrates independent comic books. You know, I think we need something like that because Previews is dead, right? Previews is gone, right? And that was the last bastion of where you could see new independent comic books. That was the last place, man, because now everything's on websites and nobody outside of a few psychos are going to flip through all the indie pages to go see those books, right? There's so few of them. So, you know, I think that's something that, like I said, that I'm considering. It's something that's been eating at me, especially now that things have been going on with the industry the way they're going. And I think, but I think it's something that we need. You know, I know, was it Chip Zdarsky? He has his paper out there that he's running currently. But, you know, I haven't seen it here in New York. I know Jay's seen it. He's seen it upstate, but I haven't seen it here in the city. Wilson,
I haven't seen it.
I think I've seen it.
I mean, I know what it is, but I haven't seen it in my stores. Yeah.
Right.
I think I've seen it. Midtown Comics had it because I remember bringing one home.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It was just one. That may be the first one. I don't know if it's supposed to be monthly or what have you. I did see the first one that was published.
Right. And again, it's similar to what Marcus is saying. Is one of the things is it's going to be difficult not to be a gatekeeper, right? At that point, because you're going to be picking articles, picking reviews, picking who to interview, picking who's going to write in it, who's going to like be in it. Even when it comes out to just advertisements, right? Like, you know, do we just randomly take everybody's money? You know, business, right? In any normal business, the answer is always yes. Just take their money. Ours is not a normal business, right? So, you know, it's always a question as to do we just say yes to that question, right? Because when you have a person that comes in and they'll say, listen, I'll give you $1,000 for your back cover, and they show you the cover art and it's done in Crayola crayons by like a 5-year-old, and you're sitting and they're saying this will be the next Watchmen, right? You have to sit back and say, like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to take your money.
That's an easy solution.
Sure, go ahead.
You put me in charge.
Is the crayon work done from an established creator from the 80s? Or is it somebody else? I mean, there's layers to that, bro.
But you're right.
I wasn't talking about Bill Sienkiewicz.
There has to be.
Bill could do incredible things with crayons. I'm just saying.
Yes. So, but two things here. So the first is what you're talking about is yes, there has to be a vetting process of who gets put into the thing. It's a natural order of things. There has to be. Even Diamond had a vetting process. Just because you submitted to them didn't mean you got into Diamond. So. People have to understand that there's a vetting process. There's a level of quality that has to be reached for something to be included into whatever this thing is, right? So that's number one. Number two, though, is you still, I have a sense, are very focused on the idea of getting this into comic book stores, which I don't give a damn about because comic books, not that I would say don't do it, but I think let's just take the 5 of us, right? Let's say the 5 of us were all in this little mini catalog thing, whatever it is. Instead of just being like, hey, let's just send this to retail stores who don't give a shit about us anyway, we should be making this thing so that all 5 of us, when we do our Kickstarter campaigns or we're at Comic Cons or whatever it is, we're all taking these things and giving them to people. Decentralize where this stuff is going, understand that there is a much larger audience to be reached if we can, all 5 of us, give away 100 of these things every time we go to a con. You know what I mean?
Here's a thought for you. Here's something that I've been thinking about. And listen, and the stuff I'm saying, anybody who wants to steal it, feel free. So imagine if we were to do a Kickstarter, we were to raise funds for this project, and I was selling advertising pages in it, right? Let's say a quarter page ad is $100, right? But along with the $100, I'll send you 25 copies of whatever the thing is. I'm looking at currently, I know I started with a circular type of deal. I'm starting to think more magazine style, comic size, with a price tag on it. Because I know retailers, they would rather sell something than give something away. There's also a value. There's also, if you give somebody something, right, like a circular, they'll just take it and not pay any real attention to it. Whereas if they pay for it, you know you have a customer, right?
Yep.
So,
but real quick before you go on,
go ahead.
You're now talking about producing a magazine,
Correct?
And that's infinitely harder than just being like, hey, let's create a 4-page catalog
I'm talking
with a bunch of our information on it.
No, I'm talking like something that's going to be 48 pages.
Yeah.
I'm talking, an editorial staff, the whole thing, Yeah. I mean, the editorial staff might be 2 or 3 people, but it'll be what it'll be.
Yeah.
But okay, so you have, let's say a $5 price tag on the cover, $100 ad. I send you 25 copies that you can sell, give away, do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a potentiality of making $125 on the product you got. Well, you can sell it at shows. Do you think that sounds like something that's viable? And that's a question for the whole panel.
I think it could be, but
yeah, no,
sorry,
go ahead. No, go.
I was about to say this because this is something I thought a lot about myself because I don't know if anyone here has had any experience or participation in the zine scene or industry. I used to back in the day, a lifetime ago, and to see where that has like grown to now, where zine conventions, we have a couple of them like here in LA. One I think the LA Times runs too, that just like packs out the places that they do, and to see the energy that comes to that. And then people, publishers and distributors who are exclusively doing zines now, and they run this wide gamut of interest and things like that. So you go from very professional magazine looking things to these things that people are, making at Kinko's and put together and doing their own thing with. So just that idea, that concept within itself lends itself well to going across market to other things, because then you're going from just having, say, previews, a circular, to having a piece within itself, having, as a piece of creativity within itself that can go into other segments and other markets. It becomes a zine about independent comics, and it can go to independent comics or it can go to, the whole zine thing. So there's a lot of potential there. And I think it could also be something, I often think about things like myself whenever I'm doing, say, a panel like Comic-Con or something like that. Usually I bring along comics and things like that, so that if anyone asks a question, I'd say, hey, whoever asks a question, like, I got Oz comic stuff here, come up, get your free comic book for getting selected for a question. Start disseminating things that way. And that's the interesting thing I've been seeing, at least, as we talk about this coalescence and this way to grow and elevate things. Coming off of San Diego Comic-Con, where me and a lot of people that we know well, the Charlie Stickneys of the world, Art of Win, his team, Fanbase Press, all these guys, we're all there, and like we're all trying to like see each other and say hi and like catch up with each other and things like that, and like we can't because we're shooting off to the next panel here, the next panel there, and like rooms are getting packed out. And that was one of the things that took me aback. I'm like, I'm hosting my first panel for the first time, and like the seats are filled. And I just didn't anticipate. People are starting to respond, and as we've all sort of individually like built these little communities for ourselves, that coalescence happens. But then like when it comes to us trying to do, we're either stuck in collaboration or we're trying to do things like this and things like that. Having some form of way of representing that in like a publication fashion with something like that, I think there's potential there, because then we could go from yeah, we can hand out comics and stuff like that, but we're doing those things like, hey, you come here, listen to me talk. Here I have it in Word in a form that you understand. We're going to give it to you. You can read it. It's collectible within itself. If it comes down to that highlights the people that we gravitate around, the things that we see in the industry, everything like that. So, I think if you do it right, you're smart about how it goes about. You talk to the right people about it and get the right people involved. There's potential there.
I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm reading what Justin wrote in the comments, and just going over a lot of panels and podcasts and live streams. And at the end of the day, I think we're all looking for just one centralized voice, right? That can not just listen to us, but share our story a little bit. Give us a little bit of a leg up that we don't currently have, right? What we don't hear is the people who've tried to do this and failed. I say failed because I haven't really seen anybody succeed yet, right? Other than Wizard, I remember there was a magazine called Hero Illustrated. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I know Wizard expanded into an indie comic style magazine, and I don't know if that was on a regular basis. I think it was maybe quarterly or occasionally. Reading Cool had run a magazine for a little while.
6 months, maybe?
6? No, they did a little longer because I remember 3 different years. They had 100 top people in comic books that you should know. And I don't know if they kept, they were, because I have them somewhere in here. Okay. 3 different 100 entry books, right? Where they just said, okay, like this is the buyer of Kroger's. This is the buyer of whatever bookstores were still open at that time, right? This was Steel,
Marvel.
Right. This was the head of pitching at the school Pace University that talks how to pitch the stores and stuff like that. So he had all of those people in there at least 3 different times. I don't know if it kept going for 3 different years, right? But excuse me. Other than that, I don't remember many more magazines, right? There's Comic Shop News, there's Zdarsky, and then there was Previews. But Previews really didn't do many articles. They had 3 or 4 maybe in the beginning, right? And they were highlighting people that were selling within the book, right? Wizard, as much as some people stab at it, they had perspectives, right? Or they had varied articles. Excuse me. But yeah,
I mean,
they gatekeep too, and that was part of their problem.
Well, no, they didn't gatekeep. That was the thing. But they let anybody in as long as you had enough money to pay to get in. So there's a gatekeeping element to it because you had to pay to play, but they let you literally pay to play. They were not going to say, we're not going to do anything with you. It's going to be like, well, yeah, we'll run you an article about triumphant comics, but let's talk about this. And so, that's how all of those guys started to get a little extra attention. Obviously they did what they wanted to do, but if you wanted sort of an extra push, you could pay to get into it.
That's why I still remember this book called Creed.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right? That kid, big feet, the art was weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, being a little bit being in the game a little bit longer, we had Comic Buyer's Guide, Amazing Heroes, Comics Interview, Comic Scene. You understand? We've had a bunch of magazines before here, and Wizard Magazine knocked most of them off. You understand? And you got to also remember that from the perspective I'm looking at it, I'm not looking to make money. You understand, per se. I would like to not lose money, right? That's going to be my key goal, not to lose any money. But I don't necessarily need to make money. Unlike Wizard. Wizard started off, there was a point where they were selling more copies than some of their #1 comics of the month. They were selling 500,000 copies, where the number one comics was selling for $4.50 or something, right?
But
so,
they had national, they had supermarket distribution, right? They were in
right.
bookstores as well.
No, I get that, but I'm not looking for that.
No.
You understand? You got to understand. I mean, it's a different market. I'm not looking. We want to get it out there to as many people as possible, but we want to try to get it to people who are interested in it, right? We don't want to get it into the hands of soccer moms and be like, what the hell is this?
And that's what I'm saying, that the comic book retail store is not really the target. It should be if I'm at Comic-Con and people are coming to my booth and they don't know who the hell I am, they're interested in that stuff. And if they're interested in that stuff, then I can say, well, here's this thing, and it's got Calderon stuff in it, and it's got Rosario stuff in it. And if you like what I do, check out what these guys do. That's the and whenever I do a Kickstarter campaign, I put that little flyer into that thing, and it goes out to 400 or 500 people. And now 400 or 500 people have that in their hands, and they know who all you guys are too, and they can take that opportunity to go say, well, what's Oswald Chronicles and so on. So I think that there's a much wider, more eyes wide open audience than the comic book retail side of things. And again, I'm not saying neglect that side, but I don't think that should be the bullseye.
Focus.
That's not the bullseye. Yeah.
Gotcha. Wilson, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, personally, I think a magazine like you're describing is a wonderful idea. It's something that I do feel like it has been missing. But like you, I did enjoy reading stuff like comic scenes, comic interviews, Comics
Amazing
Buyer's
World.
Guide.
Mm-hmm.
All those magazines, I remember getting them all. And I also do feel the missing element that Wizard had. Say what you want about Wizard, I still got that magazine every week. It kind of helped that I was working at Marvel and I needed to read it to flag all the stuff that they had gotten wrong. And because we had a very close connection with Wizard, because when I first started working at Marvel, we was the publicity department. So we were always yelling at them about something. So there was this back and forth, but there was something missing when Wizard magazine went away, as well as Heroes Illustrated. And, now we have a few magazines that are out there that do talk about the history of comics, but there's nothing there for the independent stuff, except for the Ninja Turtle guys.
Well,
because they are that that story that we're all kind of chasing type of thing, that they can do it from their garage. Maybe we can as well. So I like the idea. The thing is, it's like, because I like it doesn't necessarily mean, are the other comic fans out there wanting to read stuff like that?
Here, you guys got to remember, you got to really think back about what Wizard was. Wizard wasn't anything other than a hype machine.
Yes.
Right?
No,
it was a hype machine. It was a price guide. It was telling people, go buy this book because it's going to be worth money, blah, 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 blah. That was the impetus of Wizard magazine, is
right. No,
just a hype machine.
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
They hyped up the books that their own comic book shop ordered on. So that I understand. The top 10 guys were also the top 10 books that they were saying you have to buy. So no, I completely get that about Wizard.
So, but this is what I'm saying though, is that the market responded to that because it was what it was. It was this hype machine, right? So if you're going to have a magazine about indie stuff and it's just, hey, JD does this stuff and he likes Galactus toys, like no one cares, right? You know what I mean? No one cares. So
you likes Galactus toys too, though.
No one cares. Sorry. So if you're going to have a magazine, it has to have sort of a tone to it. And I'm not saying that it's pure hype like the Wizard thing does, but Wizard had a tone. It had a comedy. It had a funny bone to it, right? So while it was telling you that you needed to go buy all these books, it was also making you laugh and you were having a good time with it. So to just put out, for example, a straight information thing, Big Dog Inc. and Tom, and he's been around for 15 years, blah, blah, no one cares. No one cares, right? You have to have the why behind all of it. Okay. And that's why I think if we're going to do something like this, you have to start at the simplest bottom rung of a ladder, which is the informational part of it. It is simply here's a 4-page thing, and there's 8 on, two per page. There's 8, publishers. Here's all these guys. Hey, this is stuff you should know, right? Start with that. Get that stuff out quickly, easily, cheaply. And then you can start to grow. Okay, now it's 4 pages. Now it's 8 pages. Now each time we do it, we're going to let one of these publishers have a couple of pages of breakdown or whatever, right? Just let it slowly become whatever it would become. But I think the more pressure you put on it at the beginning, like Let's Be Wizard, impossible. You will, just like you said, JD, right? You've been talking about this for 9 months, and we're not any closer to having the 4-page thing done as we are to a magazine being done. So if we can say, look, let's do 4 pages, right? Let's get 8 people involved if we can. Let's get this thing to spread out across all these Kickstarters, across all these cons, and just let's see if we can dump 1,000 units into the comic book community. Then we see if we have any bumps. Oh, look, something happened here. Something happened here. And we look at it again and we say, do we want to do 4 pages again? Do we want to do 8 pages again? Do we, how do we want to do it this time? And maybe you plan to try and do it every, twice a year, something like that. And then again, just let it grow and figure out what it's going to be. But it has to start. And saying it's going to be a 48-page magazine, it ain't never going to start.
Okay.
I kind of went through this thing myself too when I was doing Critical Mass, because that was always my plan for it too, was to make it this anthology like magazine hybrid. So like we did it. There's articles in it. So I think that was like one of the first things that I did. Is we of course were featuring stories and things like that. So I'm saying, okay, who else is making science fiction comic books that I really want to feature and put it out there. And then you do that. We, got interviews. We got, a couple like art features and things like that. So that can stuff into there. So like when people get it, of course they're getting new original stories. They're also getting like a little bit of like, hey, this is, what's coming up in the pipeline for Odyssey that fits this vein. And then they're also getting like, hey, this is so-and-so, they're doing a cool book too. Let's talk to them about it. Let's feature it. So that way it's stealthy, like a little bit, because you're offering something that's a comic and you're almost going in that sort of like heavy metal vein, like a little bit too, without being so like slavish to the concept and the aesthetic and everything like that. I want to do more of that. The Critical Mass turns out beast, because I think I tried to start at 60 pages. It turned into like 212 pages, something like that. It costs a lot more money than than we raised in Kickstarter and everything. So like I'm still like completing and get everything out, because I'm like self-funding like the rest of the fulfillment and everything like that. But it's like, yeah, you got to know, kind of have an idea what you're going for. Like Tom said, like try to get that little, the most irreducible anatomic level that you can get to putting it out there, and then let it grow holistically from there. Because I think that there is like room for it, and there is going to be people that's doing it. Like I said, whether you're at cons or you're doing panels and stuff like that. I don't know about anybody else, but when I do a convention, when I'm talking to people there and engaging with people, like 99% of my conversations are like borderline like educational about not just what Odyssey is doing, but like the industry as a whole, how to everything else. So there's this need that people have out there. That's why they're showing up to the panels too, to be more educated and more knowledgeable about what's going on in indie comics. But they don't have a way of doing that short of coming and listening to someone like me blow a bunch of hot air or talk to them too long at my booth or whatever the case may be. Having that like, hey, if you want to know all this, here, buy this magazine. It'll tell you a whole bunch of stuff. You'll find out some cool information about other creators and everything there too. It becomes a much easier thing for them and more useful too down the line. And I was one of those people. I was big in a Wizard because I lived in a comic book desert. Like all I had was my local grocery store. The nearest comic book shop was like 10 miles away or something like that. And I was like 14 years old. I couldn't get to it. But I could go get Wizard and I could stay up to date on what was going on in comics. and sometimes get like a little preview with it if they're throwing in a wizard number 0 with the package or something like that too, and at least be engaged and knowledgeable about the community, doing their how to draw segments, all those sort of things like that kept me invested in whatever comics I could pick up while I was at the grocery store. I could do that. I made sure I was there grabbing that brand new wizard every single month that it came out, and that is the reason why I'm here, like right now, like today. So it works if you can get it to work.
Yeah, like I said, I have ideas for it. I'm looking to start biannually, and then work my way, up the food chain, but definitely biannually. But like I said, right now it's still in the thought stages. I may start approaching people who I'm gonna have a core group editorial, and then I'm going to expand out from there, where it would be participants in the magazine, where maybe they'll do reviews, articles, whatever. Nothing too stressful, just like one thing there, one thing there, one thing there, whatever. So so it's like I said, it's something that I've been thinking about, and it's something that I think the community needs. I just think it's something that indie comics needs in general. And one of the funniest things is trying to reach enough people and letting them know, like, look, reach out, we'll take a look, right? Just don't sit in your corner of the universe saying you're the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, Jay.
Whoa. Far from it. See, I was just about to say, hey, you could get Tom to do, instead of a 1/2 offer, a 1/8 offer. You know what I mean? A nice little 6 or 8 page mini ash can for it. I love Justin's idea of setting up IndieCon in Seattle. Brother, I'm down. Let me know. I'm out there. All right. And who knows? Maybe this book could be given out.
That'll be what your second show of the year. But here's the thing. That'll be what your third show of the year. Okay.
Third show of the year. Yeah.
But let me tell you something though. But you might be able to have this there while you're there.
Which one?
Vicky Sticks. There you go.
What? Yes. I hope to have that one there. This is going to be Vicky Sticks, the 0 issue. It's a prequel. It is part comic. It is part source book. It's going to be launching on August 23rd. I believe that's Saturday. I want to get my. Oh, I'm sorry. Just so Justin, damn man, I was back in your corner, buddy. You destroyed my whole pitch and everything, man. We're going to be launching Saturday, August 23rd, and I want to make sure that all of my digital rewards from the prior campaign are out before I launch this one. Okay, this is the story of a heroine who's she's out there. She's protecting the monsters, because sometimes they need a hero too, right? This is for anyone who's been a fan of like She-Hulk, Hellboy, or that 80s Beauty and the Beast TV series. I don't know if anybody remembers it at all. maybe
no one cares, Jay. No one cares.
I loved it. I
I remembered it. I watched it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So maybe I'll eliminate it from the pitch line. But like I said, this is going to be half comic, half source book. And we're getting ready for we'll buy some time for issue 2 to come out. There's some other preview pages, and just like all of my previous releases, we're going to have an early bird reward, which is 48 hours, and we are going to have a reward for anyone who has backed any Kickstarter of mine in the past. It's my way of saying thank you. It's something that it's on the arm, it's covered. All you got to do is come on back and say thanks, Jay. We love what you're doing.
All right, cool. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you for noticing that, Lorraine. Thank you.
She cares. She gave you a sad face.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll pull up my campaign real quick. So this is Dreamweavers, issues 1 and 2. This is a book that I did along with Matt Lunsford that we first started with back in the 90s, the early 90s. So but this is a remastering of it. These were the 2 original covers that appeared on the original books that we released forever ago. They've just been recolored. We've added on some sexy covers. We got Lena Dye. Douglas Apreciado Manzini, Aya Yana, and Javier Arciniga. And then here's some of the pages. And like I said, it's been remastered, so it's been totally relettered, and it's in color for the first time. It was originally in black and white. So I thought this was something that I really wanted to do with it. And yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. It's about 4 kids. And when these 4 kids go to sleep, they turn into their role-playing game characters. That's why they have these weird shapes. You know, this character's name is Acrobat. We have a character named Snowflake. We have a character named Mouse. And we have another character named Armadillo. And the reason is because the kids, they're between the ages of 8 and 12. So they have a very childlike mentality, and they're like just having fun with this. And it's just something they do. But when they summon these characters when they're asleep, you know, the planet is having a problem, and there's a demon invasion going on, and they have to deal with it. And the kids are just having a rough time. So there you go. Issues 1 and 2 are now available on Kickstarter. So there you go. All right. So back to brass tacks. Jay, you're up.
Hold on. Before we go there, can we go into the chat for a minute?
And
Go back to BDM Nerd or earlier where he was talking about doing his reviews, because we need to talk about this real quick.
Oh, wait a second. Hold on. I want to pull this up real quick. I missed a couple of things. Because, you know, I didn't see any. These just got there. So, but I will pull that up for you, Tom. Wilson, what is this?
So this is the Outer Spacemen. It's a comic book based on some original toys that came out back in the day. Colorform did the toys way back when, but the toys had gotten a few relaunches, and Apex Comics Group, who I am basically the art director of, made a comic book based on these IPs, on these characters. So the first issue is written by Fabian Nicieza.
Nice.
And the comic book itself is drawn by Chris Batista. And we've had various issues with special covers are made. And so we are also doing some special metal covers and then comic book covers with the toys on the cover. So these are going to be launching soon. And again, this is one of those projects that are near and dear to me because it's based on an old toy line that is kind of getting a resurgence. But at the same time, we're also adding for the first time a new character that's added into the series, a new Earthbound character, because the Outer Spacemen always focused on the aliens, but they never really had too many human heroes. So a human hero was created in this particular set. So it's one of those things that I got to work on. I got to do some coloring. I colored the whole book and lettered the whole book, but I also got to work on some covers of my own as well. So this is going to be launching soon. It was an announcement made at the San Diego Comic-Con, and although I have nothing to show for it as right now, I can announce that we also have the license to do, again, another toy line, but from the 80s, called Air Raiders. And so we'll be working on a comic book with that as well coming up. But for now, this is one of the projects that we have. So we want to get people to at least go to it to get notified when we launch this project. So and after I just finished working on the Transformers sketch cards, I've just been on this 80s high kick on working on these projects back to back.
How
so
you
I'm
do, baby?
looking forward to it. Yes.
All right,
I like
cool.
that.
Now, who are these guys? Fabian Nicieza and
So
Chris
Fabian,
Batista? Who are these people? I never heard of them.
so Fabian Nicieza worked on a little indie project called Deadpool.
Okay.
He helped create Deadpool, co-creator Deadpool, and Chris Batista is a comic book artist that I've known and been friends with since I joined the comic industry. We both came in at the same year. He just happened to be working for DC. I was working for Marvel. He started his career off working on Steel. And he's currently the artist on Gotcha Man, which is 70s cartoon stuff. So I'm living vicariously through his career as well, because we're hitting these projects that we both love. But this is, even though I've known him since 1993. This is the first project we actually ever worked on together with. So I'm really liking that. And again, if this continues to be as popular as I hope it is, we'll continue to make more of these comic books.
Wilson, going back to Chris for a second, we were mentioning Ram earlier before we went live. He did a series based on the kids that came out of Ram.
Yes, there are stories to that. It wasn't
Really?
it wasn't a great book.
Oh, I liked it
because it would have been better if they let Chris do his story. The problem is that Chris at the time wasn't known as a writer, and so the Marvel was too scared to let him do it on his own. So they brought in a writer who completely changed everything Chris wanted to do. Chris would have connected it more to the original Rom comics instead of what we got. What we got was beautiful.
It was nice,
and Tom Chu did a wonderful job coloring Chris, and so we got a really good project out of it. It would have been better if they let him have the ideas that he had for it.
Damn. Okay.
Cool. Now we got Marcus. What are we looking at?
All right, you're looking at the first full-scale tabletop coming out of Odyssey Paradox. So this is Elder Lore. This is a funny story too, because this started because I got into helping out my buddy Eric, who also did some of the tabletop like little editions of comics like Phelan Wood and things that we did as extras for our Kickstarter. And this actually spawned out of one of his projects. So I created this as a mini story for one of his campaign magazines, and then I couldn't let it go. So I was like, I need to develop this thing into like a full-fledged book of its own. So this is a full 5e Dungeons and Dragons compatible role-playing module. So it is going to be a trilogy of books. Each one is going to be checking around about 80 pages in length. Available as both hardcover, and of course you get them digitally too. The first one follows the story of the pirate queen Khashoggi as you are put upon her and her party that she's thrown at the harbor after she gained some illicit goods, and figuring out the story behind that, and also how to navigate everything that's going on. As you play through it, players are pulled into a deeper world of intrigue that if they play things the right way, they'll get to go into the next book, carrying on the story that they involve with here, level up along the way, and find like the deeper meaning behind the Elder Lore saga. So this one, I wanted to get out way earlier this year, but I decided to go back and do some more things, mainly because as I was doing it more and doing some sort of play testing and things like that with it, I saw the need to change some things. But I also have been, I really had a really hard time with like art teams for this book. So I really wanted to cast a big net, and we got a lot of cool people who contributed artwork to it, doing from the covers to the character pieces to like some of the key arts and things like that we're doing. But the rest of it was done by me. And how it's going to turn out is probably the vast majority of it is going to be done by me. And is a fun thing because I wasn't the most familiar with digital painting. I did a little bit of it here and there, but usually I don't have the time to do very much artwork myself. So I went in the lab for like a month and just learned. So a lot of the unique items, some of the character art, some of the key scenes in that will be done by me. I got a lot of that stuff done, ready to go. So this one's pretty much going to be launching this week and ready to go. I hope people check it out.
Very nice. All right, cool. Let's go check it out. All right. So Tom, who did you want me to pull up?
BMD Nerd, he had a comment earlier about the problem with indie comics and their release schedule. Yeah, one of the biggest failings, availability. I review comics all the time that my readers can't buy until the next Kickstarter will be 2 months, 3 months away. So what I want to say here is two things. One, I love that you are giving these legitimately brand new creators the opportunity to be reviewed, because a lot of people don't give them that chance. But at the same time, if that's all you're reviewing, then that's sort of on you that there's a failing in that aspect, because there are hundreds of creators that have been doing this for years that you could be reviewing, and those people have back catalogs that people could go to immediately. I have a back catalog if you want to review my stuff. Calderon has back catalog. You want to review his stuff. Rosario has back catalog. You know what I'm saying? So it's great that you're giving those new guys that opportunity. Love it. Beautiful. Keep doing it. But if you're concerned with, but no one can buy the books, change your tact a little bit and go find the guys that have been doing it for a minute, and they do have those back catalogs, or they're consistent on Kickstarter every quarter or whatever, and there's stuff to consistently get. Because that's, trust me, there are hundreds and hundreds of people, creators, that are doing this and have doing it for a while, that they have a back catalog, and they would appreciate those reviews and those directions just as much as the new guys.
All right, cool. Jay, you got a question? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Son of a gun.
No,
I'm trying to respect everybody's time. So, whatchamacallit? I did have a question, but it has nothing to do with what's going down tonight, right? This conversation is going really fucking well, man.
So
whatchamacallit? And going back to BMD nerd for a second, he's here in the comments almost every week. Shout out, thanks for coming through. I appreciate you spending your time with us. Hit us with some contact info, man. I'm sure all of us here would send you stuff if you want to check it out.
Or listen, reach out if you want to come on the show.
Yeah, man. Come over here. Chew the fat with us. All right, so let's. I'm trying to formulate something with the whole magazine concept for a second, right? Because you were mentioning other magazines that I had not thought of, right? And one of the reasons why I had not thought of it because I did not see them often, like the Comics Journal, Comics Buyer Guide, right? The Writer's Journal. Those were books I didn't get to see unless I was at Jim Hanley's Universe over on 33rd Street, right? My local shops, they weren't picking that up. They were picking up Wizard, right? So it's like, where do you find the balance between informative and having a good time, right? I don't want to use the term tchotchkes, right? But putting in those nuggets that people will bite on visually, right? And then once they're in on it, okay, they absorb all that information, and now they're in the funnel. Where do you find that balance?
All right, cool. Tom.
Personality.
There you go.
In the written word, though?
Yes. Are you kidding me? Wait a minute.
Absolutely.
You don't know that there's personality within the written word?
Hold on a second, because
this is important, Jay.
Let's roll this back to Wizard for a second.
Yeah,
okay?
That's all personality. That entire magazine was a giant series of personalities that kind of existed under one umbrella.
And they were a lot younger than we all are, right? They were impressionable. And they were taking tours of the Marvel and the DC offices and CrossGen, right? Are they going to take a tour of the Odyssey office or the Big Dog or the Unstoppable office or the Dreamweaver office?
We can. We can set it up on a Zoom call on a StreamYard thing. Hey, this is my office. This is where I do my shit. Like all of that is doable.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's not personality. That's you're just back to informational at that point. I mean, there's a little bit of personality in that. Hey, look, I've got a King Kong poster or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But when I say personality, I mean personality as far as writing something that is engaging, not just in an information. You can be engaged with information. Oh, Tom did this and this and this and this and this to get to where he is. There's some personality there. But I'm talking about personality. If you're talking about Wizard style, Wizard was all comedy based. It was self-deprecating in some ways. It would tease the comics, it would tease the creators that they were in, but it was always at the end of the day a promotional thing. Oh, Jim Lee, he likes to put cheese on to host or whatever. But, at the end of the day, it's like, yes, go buy Wildcats. You know what I mean? So that was their personality. That was their shtick, if you will. So a magazine aimed to that idea would have to have a clear and concise shtick to kind of go along with it, that everybody who's writing would kind of have to be in on the jokes to keep it consistent. You know what I mean? Or the other way to do it would be the opposite side of that coin, which is to actually, and this is where you might get a little bit of extra hit, is to create the drama where you have opposing viewpoints on it. Where, well, I love this, and well, I think this is a piece of shit, and you have that can happen too, because people like the drama, right? There's value in that too. But even within that, you still have to have both sides be in on the purpose of what we're doing and how we're doing it, how we're presenting it, so that it makes sense when the reader is flipping through the different pages of it. It's not like a jarring, to go from like a Deadpool comic to a Neil Gaiman, right? Like those bang, people are like, whoa, what just happened? This doesn't work. But if you have a presentation that has sort of a through line, you'll be able to draw the people in a little bit more.
Yeah, and there's also another flip side to that coin, because the thing is we talk about Wizard, right? But what's the other magazine that was always in the industry that outlived it, right? That outlived Wizard? Comics Journal, right? Which is in and of itself also had a great deal of attitude and was, very different in tone, in voice, in character than Wizard, right? If you ever read a Comics Journal, highfalutin, kind of full of their own shit, right? Sticks up their butts, you understand? But literally,
the New England Journal of Medicine, but for comics.
This still is around too.
Oh yeah, back issue. Yep. But so that's the thing though, right? Where do you find a balance? And
right.
Let me just clarify something. I don't hate the Comic Journal. I think it's actually a good magazine, but they are sometimes full of their own shit though.
So well, and that's why I say I think that you're better off sort of starting at the bottom of the rung of the ladder, putting something out, and then saying, okay, what was the response to it? What did we get from it? And then take a step up. Okay, now we're going to add an article, like just say one article, right? Okay, did people respond to it? Let's add 2 articles. Let's bump. I think slow incremental growth, like we're talking about this, I think that's the way to do it.
I mean, Zdarsky's thing started off as 4 pages.
Yeah.
It's now 16.
Yeah.
Right? He's tongue in cheek. Right, he's very he pokes fun at himself quite a bit, but then he also has things where, like, you want to talk about the head up controversy stuff, right? One of the articles was top 10 comics or top 5 comics chosen by the guy who owns the Third Eye chain,
okay,
and then his Zdarsky's top 5, right? And they went at it, almost like a face-off, but it was fun. It was engaging, but it was informative too.
Yeah.
Right.
So Jay's on my side. He just said everything I just said.
Well, I mean, you don't want the New England Journal of Medicine, right? You don't. I mean,
right.
It's prestigious, of course, right? But if this book is to help expand the presence of indie comics, right? The awareness, of indie comics, it needs to be made accessible, I think.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you. Wilson, what are your thoughts?
Again, I like the idea of a magazine. There is the whole thing about what is it that can be given to people that they may not have. I think the informative part is because there's always been that hidden magic of what goes on in comics, how to make comics. And there are books out there on how, but there's also, little nuances never get looked at. Like how do you make a PDF for print? stuff like that, where I would, as a freelancer who's also done work for other publishers, I get hired to be a letterer, and then I ask the question to many small press publishers. Oh, okay, what format do you need these to be back in? Do you need it to be a PDF? Do you need it to be an EPS file or an editable AI file? And then they just gloss over because they have no idea what I'm talking about. It's like, haven't you published anything before? It's like, you need a PDF. It's like, yeah, just send us a JPEG. It's like, no. Is it digital print, or you go to, a publisher, you go to print it, a physical print, and it's like, is it going to be offset? And again, they just don't understand it. And I've been accused of like, oh, you're just finding a way to pad your pay. It's like, no, you need this to print. I could give you the lettering file. And I'm done. My job was done. You hired me to letter. And, you can either hire me to do the pre-press and we're done, or you come back in 3 months when you realize you're going to need me to do it. And guess what? My prices just went up double because, I already told you I could have done this for you already. So, again, there's still those things that people just don't know that's needed. Even if something as simple as, oh, we would like you to send us the lettering files, but don't turn them into EPSs, don't outline them because we want to use your fonts. It's like, I'm not giving you the fonts. And then that's the other thing is that, people need to pay for the fonts. And it's like, so they're trying to work a way around. It's like, oh, we need them in case we need to edit them. Perfectly fine. Here is where I bought my fonts from. And you can get them. I've ran into that. And most of the publishers that are still around today are the ones that actually listened and paid for this stuff because they're treating it as a business more so than treating it as it'd be fun. Let's make comics. And so information like that, I think, is needed to be out there. And I think information on how to is still valid, how to letter, how to color, how to do, printing, and, articles on how to choose a printer. It's probably something out there that isn't out there. You go to you go to print for Kablam, or you go to do offset printing, or you go to choose a printer in China. And again, there is so many obstacles out there that really needs to, be added to a magazine. And I think it's a great idea because, again, teaching something is what I think could put us separate. Because Wizard, their teaching stuff was what? This artist versus that artist?
Yeah.
And it was cool.
They did stuff. They had art classes. They did lettering classes. They did that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But the problem is in our situation for that, there's no space for that at this point. Do you know what I mean? They were doing 100-page magazines and they had to fill this shit up with anything. If we're coming in even with 8 pages, it's got to be hyper focused on who are these people? Why do we care about these books, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I'm saying. Growth, like just growth.
Yeah.
Growth. Find out who's you got to have some aspect of a centralization of response. So if you have a website for this thing, whatever it is, or a Facebook group, if you keep it free, whatever, people can come into the group, or a Discord, right? People can join a Discord. Then they can ask questions. Oh, you know what I'd love to see in this is this. I'd love to see this. I'd love to see this. And then you can use that information to expand it as you have time.
Well, Tom, let me give you a little pushback on that, right? Because you keep saying 8 pages. I say 48 pages.
Yeah, right? But you don't have enough people to fill 48 pages, dude. That's what I'm saying.
You think I don't have enough people?
It's taken you 9 months and you still don't have 4.
It's taken me 9 months to think about it, right? Because I'm thinking about it because I'm procrastinating the fuck out of it because I don't really want to do the work, right?
This is the other side of this coin here.
Doesn't mean I can't do the work.
I was about to say, like, if JD needed 48 pages, I could send him fucking double that amount right now of this stuff that I haven't got.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know.
I completely believe that JD, if he wanted to put out a 48-page magazine, he will. And he has plans to, but I also understand the whole 9 months of thinking about it, because you also want to approach it smart. And you're listening to, because just looking at JD, knowing that what he's done in the past, he already has an idea of what he wants to do, and he's testing us out on if we agree with some of the things he has in mind.
I'm going to break him down then. I'm going to break him down. I'm going to make him explain everything.
Jay calls himself unstoppable. I call myself unbreakable. Go ahead. No, but I mean, see, because the thing is I'm thinking of a broader magazine, right? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of something where we do have the entertainment aspect of it. I want that. You understand? But I do also want a higher brand, of thought in the magazine going into indie comics. I want a little bit of history. I want a little bit of education. I want a little bit of this. And they're going to be, and this is why I'm reaching out to a lot of different people, because not everybody's into everything, right? Like I may chat Jay and say, yo, Jay, do me a favor. Try to find some independent comic book guys who've produced toys and try to put together an article on that, right? Because that's like in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Right? I might go to Wilson and say, hey, Wilson, could you do me a favor? See if you could work out something like, I don't know, like a lettering guide that would be good, that we could put in 1 or 2 different issues, right? Tom, I could be like, write up something that would be good with working with IPs, right? That would work out, something along the lines of the stuff you do, so you can incorporate your work with it. Marcus, try to find something like, write an article about, I don't know, you understand, working within the markets differently, because you work within those markets differently, right? You're not working through the direct market, right? You're working through these different markets and you're selling your items differently. You understand? How do you make those moves, right? If you want to expose yourself that way. I don't know. Right?
Well, I'm always looking to expose myself. So
whoa. That's all I'm saying.
But here's the thing too, JD, because like we think about this a lot in comics terms, and here's the thing for me, and why I've also thought about this in the past, because I've already done it. Because this is a egg that comics hasn't cracked, but fine art, go into any art gallery or museum or anything like that worth its metal, and before you even go into the actual exhibit rooms and halls, you're gonna find something. Probably on a podium, on a table, next to a signage sheet or something like that. And what that is some form of magazine or whatever pertaining to that gallery. Who's in it, what's going on, specialty articles, different sorts of features, advertisements from everybody else, they're everywhere. So the fine art community has been doing this for years. And that's actually how I learned to do a lot of the stuff that I do as far as like formatting books and graphic design, because I used to help my graphic design professor do his zine for his gallery. And I was doing formatting and graphic design and everything like that for it. And then just like here in California, we go to the Broad, go to any other sort of, the Mocha, anything like that. All those magazines are there. So you're essentially just doing that, but for indie comics. It's almost a one-to-one translation. Right. The only difference becomes not how you have infinite examples of similar things out there. A lot of fine art stuff, of course, is dry as fuck, and because it's taking itself hyper seriously, of course. But you have those examples, so your challenge becomes not can you do it? You already know you can. You already know the people you do it. It's how do you pretty much put it into the market? How do you get it going to people? How do you disseminate that thing to everyone else? And I think much like we were mentioned before, much like fine art is already doing in the gallery spaces, comics, we don't really have gallery spaces. We have our conventions. We have our panels. We have our Kickstarters, like everything, like the places that we go to where people are already coming to meet us. It's simply being there, and people will grab it. How much money are they willing to pay for it? If becomes the crux of the thing right there. So if it, if you could rattle off a bunch of these things, get together, print 500 of them, offset overseas, wherever the case may be, you could drop them down to, a couple bucks, the recoup, whatever the case may be. Cool. You could do that. I still got a bunch of them like laying around in a long box somewhere because, I'll go to an area and, typically when I go to, the art museums and galleries and stuff, I grab all those things. I collect them myself. And a lot of people do the same thing. Like swapping these things around is like a whole ecosystem within itself too. So if you go to a lot of these zine festivals and stuff like that, people just sharing the zines and the magazines and everything is a whole culture like within itself, like attached to that. That's all I was saying. Like when you do it right, the ways you can get it around and do that. And then there's places like Silver Sprocket, who's a publisher and distributor. They distribute zines, comic zines, and things like that. And they got a pretty extensive network all across the U.S. and Canada. So there's audience for it just within itself. So I think, it's 100% about how you tailor it, how you design it, how you market it and push it out there, what it's going for. The uniting theme and the purpose of it itself, being able to communicate that, and then I think the rest can kind of like take care of itself after that. At the very least, it'd be an interesting project, at the bare minimum. Right?
Because look, the reason I'm doing this is because I want everybody's ideas. I love Tom's ideas. I love Jay's ideas. I love your idea. I love Wilson's idea. The crowd has been, the chat has been important. Because, it's something like I said, I think the community needs, and it's going to be tough. And it's not tough in, I think, putting it together. You understand? Like I said, I think I know enough people that I could be like, I can touch enough bodies that I could get enough material together. But it's, again, putting it out there, like Marcus said, getting it out into those communities. That's where the discussions have to be had, where it's like, how do we get them out, right? I have ideas. I said one earlier, right? If we do a Kickstarter, blah, 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 we sell out quarter-page ads, give everybody copies that they can sell or give away or whatever, however they want to do it. You understand? That's one option. Do we try to distribute through Filbo or through, if we can get a spot in Lunar, right? Do we, again, everyone who advertises in it will get books so they can spread them out through their convention scene, right? Do we sell the books cheap to individual creators and just say, look, here's a bunch of books, you can make a bunch of money, or you can make some money at shows or whatever, hopefully a bunch, right? The original plan was just to give them away, right? But, in talking to people, they're like, does that really have any value if you just get a circular, right? You just treat it like something like you get it. So I got it for free, so you just toss it over your shoulder. You don't really care. Whereas if you pay for something, you're going to have more of an impetus to actually look at it, right? So that's where the thing is. And Tom, this goes back to one of your old partners, Lori. She's the one that gave me the idea. She was like, "Yo, sit charge for it." She was like, and I had to really sit back and think about it. She was like, and I brought up the situation about giving it away and doing the whole circular thing, and she was like, "Who gives a shit about that?" She was like, "I get circulars from the supermarket all the time. I just throw them in the garbage." Right?
Yeah, but when you put a price tag on it,
right?
Now people think about it.
Right. And
it's going to have to be at least $5, like the cost of a comic, at least.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's not an easy thing. It's already hard enough for us to say, "Hey, give me $5 for my comic." Now here's $5 for a random magazine about things like that. I'm not saying it's impossible. Again, I'm just saying that there's an ease of use that I think we need to kind of, let's look at ease of use as much as possible first before going fucking full bore into, something that we theoretically think we can charge people for.
Right. Well, I'm piggybacking on that. I stepped out because I wanted to grab something because this is firing off all my stuff right now. Like this discussion. This right here is the book is wearing out. This is a book called The Last Magazine, and this is probably one of the most helpful books and one of my favorite books. There's like ever existed. It's not like some premium hardcover. It's a magazine within itself, and it's a magazine about magazines. You might not be able to see it, but I have all these color-coded tabs of ones that I keep missing. So like, there's weirdos out there like me who like those things so much. I will buy a whole fucking $70 book that's about the books. I wish that like I could buy the magazines. I wish I could buy. I can't show off the interior of this a whole lot because there's like a lot of like not safe for work stuff on here that I don't want your YouTube account like shut down. But
so
like,
is it a catalog?
No, it's not a catalog. It's literally talking about the magazine. So it goes over different magazines. You can't see it from my
Okay.
But this is one that is like in particular talking about comic magazines and comic magazines that people are good at, highlighting the people publishing these things, articles talking about them, little exposés, information spreads, all sorts of stuff like that. A little bit of educational things like that thrown in there too, the history of independent magazine making and everything like that. So like, yeah, when I think about that, it's like, you know, I'm an easy sell for stuff like that because it's 100% like in my wheelhouse to do, but it's also something that I've had this book for about 20 years. It's also something I've thought about like extensively and planned it like extensively about. So hopefully like do those things someday and incorporate more of that stuff into what we're doing with Odyssey. And then we're already starting to do it a little bit too, because one of the biggest things for me has come like communication. Like, you know, I know you guys probably haven't seen me like in a while and stuff like that because I've been really busy because I'm carrying like a lot of the projects that we're going to be doing, you know, towards the end of this year and going into next year. One of the hardest things for me is just talking about the stuff that's coming down the pipeline, introducing the creators, introducing the projects, you know, talking about what we're going for with it, like all that stuff that's usually going into the body of my Kickstarter anyway. I'm just going to start putting it in a digital PDF that's going to be included with every digital tier of every Kickstarter that we do. That's just going to go out. Like it's partial catalog, but it's also going to be interviewing the creators, like talking about, you know, the projects that they're working on and what they're going for and things like that. Is drumming up that hype prior to the Kickstarter coming out, the book being available to read, whatever the case may be. The very like nugget of what we're doing is going to be going into that sort of thing. So I've already like built out the first one that we're going to do. And so it just becomes about what do we do next? How do I do that? Again, like I'm doing it as a free digital thing, which is going to be, you know, just something added extra that people can go through and see what's coming down the pipeline before we announce it. But even just in my own little sphere for my own uses and purpose, I see the need for something like that.
All right, cool. Well, I think we beat this one up enough. So let's move. Marcus, you got a question?
I got a question. We often talk about what we need in indie comics. What do we need less of in independent? What do we got to stop doing?
What do we need less of? Interesting. All right. I think that one. All right. What do we need less of? Okay, I'll give you one. We need less. I feel we need less middle people who try to suck money out of creators.
Oh.
You know, it's a lot of these people who offer their services to promote your books, that sort of thing. We also have printers, right? Who they're doing offset. I've worked in offset for a long time. I know what a click costs, right? I know more or less what floor space costs. I know more or less what paper costs. And I see some of the egregious pricing that goes with it. Now, we do live in America, and I don't know what they're paying their people. Maybe they're paying their people very well for their services. I could only hope. And that's maybe where some of these prices come from. I've seen some pricing from some printers where in the US where it was just egregiously expensive for what it was or is for offset printing. Okay. Whereas I know I could turn around to an offset printer just random. Like, here's the thing. We all go to these printers who have comics in their name on some level, right? And those guys already got you scoped out. If you're going to them, they just might as well print Suckers Come to Me, right? Because they already got you scoped out, right? Whereas if you were to just contact printers, regular printers, give them your specs, they will probably give you a better price, okay? And give you as good, if not better quality, okay? But since everybody likes it easy, right? And Wilson could attest to this. Nobody knows what a PDF is or a PSD file or AI file, right? They want it as easy as possible. So these printers will say, yo, don't worry about it. Give me a JPEG. I'll take it, right? Give me your lousy PSD file, that's at 72 DPI. I'll work with that, right? Or whatever.
Jay.
Whoa. Cool down, bro.
By the way, I didn't encounter that very thing that Will was talking about until recently, because I've just been living in my own head so much. I do everything with Odyssey. I do all the graphic design, all the pre-press, and short of writing and drawing the books like myself. Actually, I do work with colorists and letter. Yeah. I'm coloring one of our books right now. I was working with another creator, and I'm like, okay, here's this, and they're I'm like, good to go, right? They're like, oh, can you make this into a PDF for me? I'm like, I just gave you all the pages. Like I don't know how to make the PDF. It's like, oh. Right. And this is someone who's made like a lot of comics already, that I thought would be able to take care of that. So I was like, yeah, I'll go in and rattle off the PDF and send it to you digitally. But yeah, that's a skill you should put in your tool. We shouldn't be doing this.
But that's what I think personally we need less of. I think we need less of people who are a little too opportunistic to make a buck, right? Whereas, we're in this, most of us are in this, and I think all of us are in this because we love it, right? But they're definitely individuals. And look, there's an article currently running on Bleeding Cool about a representative that ripped off, I think, like 17 different artists, right? Wow. Who was being sued currently for close to $500,000.
Wow.
Of funds that they didn't pay out to these people or in question. I mean, who knows? It's all alleged at this point, right? So, but those are the type of people we need less of.
The miners.
Yeah.
Not
the miners, the people who feed off the miners.
No. Not
we're miners. We're the miners. We need less people feeding.
Right. No, excuse me. Yes. Those who mine the miners. Yeah. I get it. Right? During the gold mine, the only people that really made money were the people selling shovels to
right.
those. Yeah, I got you. All right.
I got a shovel. Jay, you want a shovel?
I got one. It's called
I need a shovel.
Grave digger.
I need a shovel. Can we get rid of fucking goddamn homage covers? I mean, every once in a while it's not bad, but when your whole campaign is 17 different fucking homage covers, I mean, come on, man. Put something original in there, right? Give me 16 out of 17, right? You got, you got the fun. You can make your own fucking book of just the homage covers, as a fucking freebie giveaway. I mean, come on, man. Fuck, bro.
Yeah. And the other side of that is this, and I was going to say the same thing, but there's another step to it, is we need less IP theft, because the homage cover is not really IP theft, but there is legitimate IP theft going on where, for those that don't know, that means intellectual property, where someone will say, oh, it's a cosplay cover and it's just Rogue with her tits out. I'm like, no, there's nothing cosplay about this, bro. This is just Rogue with her tits out and you're making money. If it's going to be a cosplay cover, it needs to look like your character in some version of the Rogue thing, but it has to be identifiably different to be a cosplay cover with your character. Otherwise, you've just stolen an IP and made money off of it.
Oh, and the merch stuff, like, the comics is bad within itself, but you go on Kickstarter or Etsy and some of the stuff like that, where if I was a Disney lawyer or something like that, I'd just be browsing and stuff all day, making my salary in one quick hit.
You know, it's weird you brought that up, right? I remember Disney shut down Chinatown.
Mhm.
Like here in fucking New York City, bro. Right? I've never seen Chinatown shut the fuck down. This is scary because we're talking about a nice center of 3 or 4 blocks where everything is just bootleg. Bootleg.
I thought for sure when Disney took over Marvel that it would take a few years to kind of figure out how to do it and then knock it down. And there has been just not a word of it. It's crazy to me.
Dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nothing.
And that's why it's allowed. That's why it just keeps happening. You know,
I think it's
the
like
only one that happened recently that I'm aware of was there was a Barbie cover that a publisher made. And it was a direct rip of Margot Robbie's face and the whole thing. And they got a cease and desist for that. It wasn't from Disney. It was whoever makes Barbie, Hasbro or whatever. Mattel, yeah. So that happened within the last, handful of years. But, when Disney came in, knowing how hard they are on bootleg stuff and things like that, I thought for sure we'd see like fan art prints get slapped and just all that kind of stuff. But hasn't been a hint. So it's really weird.
They've shut down bakeries in the past for using Disney IP, printed on their cakes.
DC wouldn't let a kid who died have Supermanuel, his name was Manuel, Supermanuel on his tombstone because it had the Superman, little logo thing on it.
Right.
So it's the S. And they were like, no, we can't do that.
It's crazy to me thinking about that because I don't know if anybody remembers there was a famous case years back of a preschool that had a picture of Mickey Mouse painted on it, and Disney went after them to shut it down. So like they'll do that, but then that's why I was at the same mindset time. I was like, oh, when they get their hands on like Marvel, they're gonna be coming through people's cons, like kicking down their fan art, like everything like that, and it just never happened, which is like the most least likely thing to happen is that they did nothing. So that was pretty interesting to see.
Wilson, you got any thoughts on it? What do we need less of?
I don't know if I have any thoughts on what do we need less of. I did pretty well working on other people's comics that were homage covers. So it's like those pop up because they sell. And, so I'm on both minds of that. It's like, something like that. And what I see like at cons are, the print jockeys, people who've never worked on the projects, have these huge displays that are gaudy and take up, they're already breaking con rules by going higher than they're supposed to. Because I've seen people go up high in the con say, no, you got to take those down. You got them too high up. And then after they walk away, they go right back up and stuff like that. So, people who haven't worked on those characters are making these prints and stuff like that. I never liked that in general, but that's not an indie thing. I mean, these guys are hanging out in the indie spaces.
Yeah.
So if you're not having an indie project, that I dislike. You want to walk through you want to walk down the indie publishers and see indie books, but there are people who are taking up the space to sell their bootleg stuff. So we definitely do need less than that because, again, it's less expensive to get small press than it is, to go on the floor itself. Things like that. Other than that, I can't think of a thing, and I don't know, later tonight it's like, oh, it should have been this and this and that. So, but there's nothing that I can think of. It's a great question, but there's nothing that I can think of other than, I don't have anything in mind.
All right, cool. Marcus, Jay, do you have anything to add?
The homage covers.
Okay, right. So, Marcus, answer your own question.
It's kind of two things for me that frustrate me really. One is the gamesmanship around conventions, I would like to say. Because there's been a couple times actually more than a couple times. It happens quite frequently, really, when I get down to it, where I try to participate in Artist Alley, not just because it's a cheaper booth space to get into, but also because I am a creator myself. I'm a writer. Like I have my own stuff as simply a creator to do outside the overall purview of Odyssey to do it, and I want those opportunities to do it because a lot of times what I end up doing when I'm at cons anyway is just end up talking about myself to all the people that show up. So I would say the more that I can do to start building my own personal brand outside of Odyssey, like the more I could do it. And we're talking about small cons, doing small things, local stuff, to where the second they find out that I'm editor-in-chief of Odyssey Comics, it's like, oh, well, we don't know if we're going to have any room in our Artist Alley that's in the Masonic Temple. Probably 10 people are showing up to. We do have exhibitor space available for you at the low price of, so much. It's like, come the fuck on. Like, when it really comes down to, because I understand, they got to make money and everything like that. But it's like, bro, don't deny me entry into your pulled up little like convention because you want to grease me for an extra $200. Like, is your integrity as an organizer like worth that to you? Like really? Because that leaves such a bad taste in my mouth. What I immediately do is like that place is stricken off the board forever. Like and I've had people that I've already done like the artist table there, and then the following year, especially after they see like how much comics and stuff I show up with, all of a sudden I can't get the artist table anymore. I have to get the exhibitor space. So it's just like, all right, fuck off. Yeah, that really pisses. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves. Tom's smiling because I think he's probably seeing similar. Like I know pretty much anybody who's made like
you should be in small press, Willie, man.
Yeah, you should be,
yeah.
It's only $300 more. It's fine. Yeah, so
that's if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. Like some of these small, it's just the thing. They like some of these places price small press above what they do for the equivalent exhibitors. They literally make you pay more just for being small press. Like just like completely the antithesis of like how that whole thing should work out. Is like, our value proposition isn't quite there for something. It's like, how many comic books I have to sell for a $1,500 small press space to recoup that? Like I don't price things very. Most of my comics are $5, so it's like I have to sell a lot of fucking books to be able to recoup that.
I wish I was paying $1,500. New York Comic Con is $2,200 right now for a corner spot, dude. And excuse me, a corner spot that's 6x8, not no 10x10 corner spot like some of these luxury conventions.
And that's why it's frustrating because like the big people, of course, are doing it. So the Repops and stuff of the world, everything, of course, is going to be good. But like to have a small convention that's like they barely have 2 or 3 years of doing this thing in their in their CV, and they're coming and treating me that way. Like that's just it's playing in your face, as they say. And,
see, that's where you just flip the script, though, Marcus. You're like, oh, well, if you want a publisher here, I need a comp table. If you want a publisher here, you need to.
And that's the thing. And some of these things I've gone to, I've been pretty much like the only publisher there. So it's like, at that point, you should be comping me a table. Like not feed my own ego or anything like that, but like straight up, it's like, I went to one of them. I'm like, there's nobody else here. Like I'm the draw. Like I'm the only person even here making money right now. So it's like, throw me a bone. So it is starting to change like a little bit now that I've been doing more stuff and I'm like more visible. Like people are, more accepting of having me come in and do stuff. But that's the thing. The second thing is like, just like this drama and tribalism that tends to go on. I know a lot of us here on this panel, we stay out of that shit. We keep it friendly with most people that we know and interact with across the spectrum. Like my thing is like, if I don't like a person and if I don't like a thing they do, I don't engage with it.
Yeah,
I ain't got the fucking time. I ain't got the mental energy. I'll need to be out talking about like people and things that like I don't like. I don't care. And it seems to be really a thing that is more pertaining to, I would say, the generation beneath us. I see a lot of it happen with, Gen Z and that level of creator, maybe because they were raised online a little bit more.
It's always happened.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. I see it with everybody, but I tend to see it a little bit I want to say it more venomous on their side, like really like hyper aggressive with what they're doing. We all got people in the industry we don't like, and we talk about them. Like those sorts of things like that. But I always
my question is, Marcus, who don't you like in this industry?
Oh God, geez.
Everybody put out your list. We're gonna put our list of who we don't like. Yeah.
Well, you could just
I actually grind with a couple of people that like major publishers.
Well, I mean, Jay is here already, so
Yeah. But I talk to younger creators with it because it's like a lot of them don't understand, probably because of how insular that comics can be sometimes, how small our community is. The degrees of Kevin Bacon between someone just getting started out and cutting their teeth to someone that are at higher levels that, can prevent certain careers going forward and certain opportunities happening is not very many. And I've heard from people, in high places and things like that, discussing, oh, did you see so-and-so said this? And they were getting into about that. Oh, that guy's a fucking asshole. And yada, yada. People who, if you talk to those, you would never think that someone knew them and they were talking about them in spaces like that. And their career is dead on arrival because you're acting like an asshole on Twitter and people see it. You don't do, even though we don't have a ton of followers and everything like that, nothing in this internet age happens in the vacuum. Someone is seeing it. Someone is talking about it. And it gets around. And the more you do stuff like that, the more opportunities drive, not just laterally across creators like that, but at every single level. Once you build that reputation of being a prick, like nobody wants to work with you. And once that becomes the stigma on you, it is damn hard, really hard to wipe that off. Like it don't come off easy. So yeah, I not only want to see less of it because it's stupid. People shouldn't be wasting their time and energy at it. Like put that energy into making some cool shit and working with cool people. But at the same token, don't get wrapped up in it because it's also bad for you as a creator and a creative that your opportunities, your voice, and things like that, aren't going to be valued because you have a reputation. So.
All right, cool. All right, I got a softball one for everybody. Tell me of an independently published comic book that you have read and enjoyed. So no IPs, no bullshit from Image. Whoever wants to go first,
current old. What's up? Where are we?
I had one that I had, but then you said no IP, so it kind of changed everything because it was a Cthulhu book that I read.
I mean, I'll allow that if it's independently, if somebody using, when I say IP, I mean it's not Transformers.
Right. Yeah, and this is a public domain thing and so on.
Right, public domain thing is fine.
Yeah, Pat Shan did a 3-issue series called "I Summoned Cthulhu to Fund My Kickstarter."
Okay.
Which was really, really good, really clever, really funny, great art. Pat's been doing a lot of great stuff, and he's worked for me in the past, so I've always kind of been aware of what he was doing. But that was the first book of his that I took just sort of a flying leap on, and I was not disappointed. So yeah,
great,
cool.
I've been on an indie kick. Yes. Transformers was in there, sorry, but I will not be using that. I'll be talking about Buried Long Ago from Mad Cave Studios.
Okay, that's fair.
They're on issue 3, I think, right now. I just finished up Out of Alcatraz from Oni, which was nice, about the 3 guys that died as they try to escape Alcatraz. A little bit of historical fiction. That was pretty good. And then I haven't read it yet, and I forgot which was the name of the company. I just picked it up for the title alone. It's a horror book, and it's called Rosario Origins. I saw it. I'm like, sold, baby, sold. I just haven't had a chance to read it yet. And I forgot who published that one.
All right, fair enough. Looks like Wilson is looking for his book.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see if I have anything because I have not picked up really much independent stuff. And what's kind of in the vein of independence, but it's not. It's a mainstream book. Was Godzilla versus the Great Gatsby because of the sheer weirdness of it. It's drawn like an indie book because they're using characters that are in the public domain, like Dracula, Sherlock Holmes, the Invisible Man, and the Great Gatsby, that just happens to be dealing with Godzilla, but is drawn like an independent book. Other than that, I'm looking at the independent books that I happen to have on my to-read pile, and all of them I've done work on them. So it's like I'm plugging not necessarily my own books, but I did stuff on them. And like one of the ones that I did was like for Committed Comics, they're independently owned and they're all independent books. Like so Nera X, which was a 90s independent comics, has been redone. And so I did the coloring for one of the alternate covers. But that's what I have here. All the independent books I happen to have here are the books that I've done some kind of work on. Even something that's somewhat mainstream, but also it's independently owned, like Underworld, based on the movie, but it's written by Kevin Grevaux, who's doing his own publishing company, and it's all himself. And that's under Darkstorm Comics.
What's the other book you did of his?
The other books is The Djinn.
Yeah, that's the one I got. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I have that. Jintaro.
Right,
yep.
So I again put together the PDF for him because this book was already done, and it was like to get it for print. And then his own the one that I like is Darkstorm, which is basically kind of like a super powered, almost like I say a Superman type character, but he's done things like travel through dimensions, met himself from other dimensions and stuff like that. And again, this to me, I like it because it's traditional superhero stuff from like the books that inspired him, which was like the 70s type stuff. And he adds things in there that is like, oh, that's kind of a reference to a 70s cartoon show. That he'll have something like that. So that's the stuff that I've been gravitating to. That's close to mainstream, but isn't in that kind of way. And then, Usagi Yojimbo, which I still think is one of the best books out there, and independent because he's been doing it himself since the beginning, and he's worked on with that one project almost every company at some point or another.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the stuff that I have fairly recent. Yep.
Cool.
So into my to-read pile, I still have Usagi. Yep.
All right, cool. Marcus, what are you thinking?
Ooh, this is a tough one. Just because there's been a lot of things that I found and gravitated to. I really like this little book, Oswald Chronicles. It's a pretty good one. I usually back that one, pick it up.
It's okay.
Also cheating a whole lot too, because as a publisher and like a lot of what I've been doing, of course, is and this kind of pertains to what we were talking about earlier, is when I find something that I like, then and I really like it, and I wanted to see more of it out there, I pick it up as a publisher. So one of the things that I'm actually a fan of is the stuff that I'm producing and getting out there for people. But outside of that, I really enjoy White Ash from Charlie Stickney. I usually pick that up from him either in person or from Kickstarter. There's a creator by the name of Jason McNamara who doesn't put out a lot of stuff, but he put out one book that we were really close to coming to an agreement on for Odyssey to pick up, but the artist left to pursue another opportunity that was fantastic for them, of course. So it got like left in limbo. But that was awesome. He just did another one that was recently on Kickstarter that I'm looking forward to. And then I think I just gave him my survey, so it's gonna be coming in the mail soon. And then God, there's a creator on Global Comics. I'm trying to find their name, but I think they had a comic called The Cage, and I was really enjoying that too. I do a lot of reading on Global Comics because there's so much cool indie shit on there. And if people don't have a subscription to it, it is well worth like the $8 a month, whatever the case may be. Not only is a bunch of DC stuff and everything on there now, but like in terms of the indie projects that are on there, it's like they are one of the things that have been like a really good funnel for highlighting and putting some great work out there from a lot of creators. You can go and you can read a lot of it for free, just as it is. But if you pay for the subscription, creators do get paid for it. I just recently got a check from them too, from our readership. So it helps them out, of course. It's a lot cheaper than doing Kickstarters all the time because I get to pay my $8 and I can read thousands of comics, and that helps. But yeah, those are the big ones that stick out to me.
All right, cool. For myself, I have a book called Beast Hunting Battle Badgers by Steve Sims. Really good book. Perhapanauts is another one. Might have heard of. They were at Image for a little while, but now they're on their own. There's a book called Runners that currently has a Kickstarter on it. What is this guy's name? Sean Wang. That's a really good book. I really enjoy that book. I've been looking at that stuff. I've been looking at his stuff for the last 10 years. I've been enjoying that book from him. Another one would be Atomic Robo. I'm pretty sure most people have heard of that one.
Yep,
so
they got a Kickstarter out right now.
Yep, they're another one. They're funny because it takes them 9 months to complete a Kickstarter, but as soon as it's done and it's delivered, they launch another one. So good for them. But yeah, gentlemen, we made it to the end of the show. Thank you. You guys are all awesome. So let's start with Wilson. Where can we find you and your work, sir?
You can basically find me at Section 8 Comics or the 8spotentertainment.com. The portal will take you to both. And on the internet itself, I'm on all social media under Ramos Comics. So that's where you can find me.
Very cool. Tom, where can we find you, sir?
Big Dog Inc. That'll take you right to our website, bigdoginc.com. We're on all the socials. We do most of our stuff on Facebook. We have a Patreon as well. If you we've talked about on this show, how to make comics and how to do all this stuff. That's what we do on our Patreon. Tell you what's coming. We show you the progress from designs to lines to colors to logos to the whole thing. So if you like to watch how the soup is made, patreon.com/BigDogInc.
All right, cool. Marcus?
ZComics.com. You can check us out there. Of course, Kickstarter too. We're launching Elder Lord to Shogi's Bounty this week. Also, keep your eyes and ears out for some new announcements. I've been working over the last few weeks updating our website, but we're going to be announcing some new projects and then featuring some new stuff in the shop too that everybody can go and check out. So I'm excited for that.
Cool. Mr. Rosario.
UnstoppableComics.com. You'll find all of my social media links on the website. We update it almost a weekly basis, a regular basis, excuse me. You'll find the new, old, and what's coming info on there. Some Friday nights with the most inconsistent comic book live stream out there, Comic Book Streamland, with some of these guys on this side of the screen. Would love to have some of these guys on this side of the screen come and hang out with us. And then Sunday nights here. But this Saturday, August 23rd, meet up with us when we launch The Dead Princess Vicky Sticks number 0.
All right, cool. And I'm JD Calderon. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those different places. The OswaldChronicles.com, TallTalesOnline.com, and most importantly on Kickstarter. So go check out Dreamweavers. And wow, tomorrow I'm launching another Oswald Chronicles. So that'll be happening. I almost forgot.
As I haven't even read the last one yet, so I'm still.
Yeah. well,
I think I'm probably like 3 behind actually.
Probably. But yeah, if it was the last one, this is the next 2 issues to that one. So, but so please go check those out, and also remember, everybody, go check out the show notes. In the show notes are the links to all these different projects from all these different creators. So please click on those links, pick up those books, and just remember, everyone, all these creators are doing great work. All these creators deserve your support. All right. So thank you so much, and just remember, read more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Later.
Take care.
Take care.